Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of North American Whitetail TV's Behind the Hunt. And today is a special day for a lot of different reasons. But I've got my usual suspect here as a guest, Haynes Shelton. Haynes, how you doing today, man?
Layden, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me like always. Like you said, we're excited to announce a couple new additions to the NAW team. We've got some cool guests joining us today, don't we?
We do have a couple cool guests. There'll be folks that our audience is going to become more and more familiar with, whether they're on our website floating around reading the latest and greatest in the digital world, or they're in the pages of the magazine, or maybe even as we get into the fall, a little bit of TV experience. And that's a couple new members to our party. And if people have been paying attention to our conversations here on Behind the Hunt or what's going on within the pages of the magazine, they've probably noticed that we've kind of had a staff shift over the last 6 months. Our fearless editorial leader, Gordon Whittington, finished 36 and a half years as the editor-in-chief and decided to retire, and then graciously took on an editor emeritus role with the brand. And that opened the door for a new editor-in-chief, which through some, it wasn't even some. We already knew as a staff, as the publisher, as our bosses at OSG already knew that you were the shoe-in for that position. You'd been trained by Gordon. You worked hard. You've got a great future ahead of you. You've got a skill set that is amazing for your age. And I hate to even throw that A word in there, but you were our shoe-in for the new editor-in-chief role, which we've talked about it here. But that meant we also had to backfill your position. And then as we continue to grow our delivery here at NAW and make this more of a true branded approach, we needed somebody to really head up our digital department. So I'm going to let you introduce these two new guests that are kind of smiling over here on the other side of the screen, and kick it away, man.
Absolutely. Well, so we have, as of June 1st, our new associate editor, Mr. Blake Garlock, who's on the call. And Blake is a recent graduate of Shippensburg University in Pennsylvania. He's also a Pennsylvania native. He just finished up his journalism degree, and he's a passionate outdoor writer who had dreams of becoming an editor and working for a magazine. And not only that, he's a lifelong reader and fan of North American Whitetail magazine, and he's a dedicated hunter, and especially a bow hunter. And he's also a big public land guy. And you know, when Blake and I first started talking to each other and interviewing, I think he told me he killed his first deer when he was like 6 years old, and he's been going at it his whole life and has hunted in multiple states and traveled, you know, across the West and some in the Southeast, and has hunted a lot there in Pennsylvania. And he created a cool collegiate bow hunting website as part of his projects in college. And Blake, we're really excited to have you, man.
Yeah, really. Like you said, I've been a lifelong breeder of NAW, so it's an honor to be here, and really humbled to actually just be sitting here with you guys talking deer.
Absolutely, man. And also on the call, we have our new digital editor, Mr. Sam Forbes. And, you know, Sam and I actually are longtime friends, and we graduated college together at Hampton-Sydney College in Farmville, Virginia. Sam is an English major like I am. We both are photography minors. We took a lot of courses together, and Sam is a highly skilled digital editor with a lot of photography experience as well as videography experience. He too is a lifelong hunter. He has been successful in his whitetail pursuits, as well as some big game and waterfowl, and just a nice pedigree as an outdoorsman and a good friend of mine. So I can't tell you how excited I am to have both of you guys joining the team. And Layden and I, you know, we're such good friends now, and we have what I believe a great new cast of folks to carry this brand into the future.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Sam, I'll let you speak a little bit before I hop in, but I've got some things to say about both of you.
Well, thanks for the kind introduction, Haynes, and same to you, Layden. It's a thrill to be here. It's a thrill to put my passion of photography and writing into this brand that's been so successful for so long, but to do it on a digital side, you know, with a new age of young guys with social media, online presence, it's been a joy to jump in and talk deer hunting. we'll save the deer hunting stories for the website, but I spent a little bit of time duck hunting with Haynes back in college, and we had a good time wing shooting a few times. And I look forward to spending more time with both Layden and Blake as we continue forward together.
Well, I'll tell you, Haynes, when we first started talking to Blake, and I want to lay this out here right now before we get too serious and dig into business here, but I knew we were going to get along. And I'm really surprised that we didn't cross paths already, because the first thing that he and I had the opportunity to start talking about was some public land DIY hunting in the northwest part of Nebraska. And, my ears perked up. That's kind of where I cut my teeth in regards to DIY hunting away from my home state of Missouri. And I thought, you know what? I think I am going to like this guy. And maybe Haynes is right. All you Southeasterners out there that don't do too much of that Western public land hunting, Blake and I've got a little bit something in common, I guess you could say. But great guy. Looking forward to doing more with him. And really our audience probably hasn't had too much exposure, even though Blake's been working hard since June 1 and hopped right into the mix of it with our July issue. They probably haven't seen too much of his work yet, but I can tell you they're going to enjoy seeing his work from what we have already had preview to here behind the scene. No pun intended with behind the hunt, but behind the scenes, what we see every day with Blake, and he's going to do a great job. And then Sam, that dude, number one, he's a comedian, which I love. Somebody needs to keep it fresh and light here on the staff, because we work hard. We work long hours. Everybody's grinding all the time, and Sam's always there with a smile on his face. And we've already appreciated that. But I will tell everybody that they've probably already seen work of Sam's. And if you go to North American Whitetail's website, check out all of the new articles that are coming up. I mean, almost bi-daily, if not daily, in some instances, you're seeing we're really strengthening what we do there in the digital and social presence. And Sam has been the guy that's been in charge of that since he's been here, and he's done a great job. We have a new video schedule that we've just finalized in the last couple of weeks here that's going to include over 80 digital videos that will come to our website before the end of this calendar year. And that right there is the man that's going to be in charge of making sure that all gets executed. And I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horses, but couldn't tell you how excited we are to be putting that out in front of our audience. It's something that, we've heard them ask for, and we're now bringing to them as a solution. And, Sam's working hard along with both Blake and Haynes on aligning that content with greats like Greg Miller. And I mean, go down the list, Alex Comstock. I mean, you go down that list of people that have been a part of everything that we're doing here at North American Whitetail. And Sam's going to have that. And he's bringing a brand new, fresh lineup of folks within that video content. So you guys will enjoy that. But if you haven't seen Sam's work, get over to the website, start checking out what we're doing, see how he's teasing everything that we're doing onto our social media platforms. We got a lot coming down the pipe. And, one thing we'll talk about just a little bit later, which we've been working on just in the last couple of weeks here, is YouTube. If you're not aware of the fact that we have a YouTube page, go look for our YouTube page. We've got fresh videos already coming down the pipe there. And we have a whole nother lineup that will continue to come, and Sam's working hard there as well. So we're reaching out, trying to make sure that we are everywhere that you guys want us to be in regards to providing you the latest in big whitetail deer content, land management content, and how to associated with whitetail hunting and land management. So, we're going to be bringing it all at you. I couldn't be more excited, I guess, as the leader of this group, to say we've got a great cast of people. They're going to work hard. They're going to dig in. They're going to come at everybody with great content that you've expected and learned to expect from North American Whitetail over almost 40 years, 39 years to be exact. So it's going to be a fun ride here. No doubt. Right, guys?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
Well, I'll tell you, let's kind of dig in now that we've got these guys introduced to our audience, Haynes. The other big thing that's happening this week here at North American Whitetail TV is our 18th season of television. We have just broadcast or taken to air our first episode of season 18. And if you haven't caught that, already this week. There are still a few episodes, and I'll lay those out for you just a little bit later on the different networks. But we've got a great episode that we've kicked off. We've got a brand new open to the show. You're going to see that we've been working hard to improve our quality of production with the show. And there's just a lot of great things coming with NAWTV, just like you're seeing across the magazine, across the website, across our social delivery. So Haynes, this episode is you, buddy. And you're chasing big velvet bucks in Wyoming with our good old partner, Ralph Dampman out at Trophy Ridge. Why don't you give us a little bit of the breakdown without telling it all?
Yeah, I tell you, Layden, it was an awesome hunt, and I really enjoyed having you out there with me this year for the first time hunting at Trophy Ridge. It's a place that I've been to now for several years, and I've really fallen in love with Wyoming. It's one of the most special places that I've ever hunted whitetails in for so many reasons. Number one, when you're in the tree stand out there, you feel like you're a tourist because the scenery is just incredibly beautiful. And, as hard as you're hunting and as focused as you are, looking for whitetails, you kind of find yourself looking off into the distance at a beautiful mountainscape or just incredible scenery. You almost feel like you're sightseeing while you're hunting, there's just something special about that is definitely worth weighing into the total experience of the hunt. But aside from how beautiful it is, the hunting really is incredible. There's a ton of deer in that part of the world, out in the true West. It's a game rich environment. There's not only a ton of whitetail, but great mule deer hunting and antelope and elk and, beautiful Western big game, the kind of stuff you dream about if you're a guy like me from the East Coast who's never had the opportunity to see that kind of country or those animals. And it's fun that it's an early season game where you can start, as early as September 1, and a lot of these big bucks are still holding velvet. I tell you, so many whitetail guys in different parts of the country have never had the opportunity to hunt a big velvet buck. We see them, we run trail cameras, we scout, we look at them through a spotting scope or binoculars, but there's only so many places in the, the lower 48 in the United States where you can kill a velvet buck, and Wyoming is definitely one of those. So, and that's something that I just cherish about being able to kick the season off on opening day and start September 1 chasing these velvet bucks that are coming off of a summer pattern. And, they're usually very huntable and the pressure's low because they have not been hunted, in the maximum duration of days since the previous season. And, I've had great success out there and have killed some awesome deer at Trophy Ridge with Ralph Dampman. And it's just a first-class operation. I tell you, those guys they're pros. They're a Christian family. Their values are incredible. They always welcome us into their home and their operation. Their food is incredible. And it's just the perfect place to start deer season, man. I'll be back as many years as they're going to have me.
Yeah, Ralph is his operation's first class. That's just all there is to it. And the family's great. And I'll tell you, sometimes when you travel on the road, you never know what you're going to get into, but there's no better situation to walk into than a family-oriented operation like Ralph's. Son-in-laws working there, daughters, their wives, their friends, close friends that have been customers in the past and have become, friends for decades. It's a great operation. It's an awesome place. And I couldn't be, after experiencing that, I couldn't agree with you more about Ralph and the opportunity that he offers there at Trophy Ridge. I do want to say, though, you made a slight understatement about having some success there. You said some success, and you've had great success there at Ralph's over the last couple of years. 2 great big velvet 8-pointers. There you go.
That guy right there.
Shoulder. Yeah, man. Just a couple great episodes. And people are really going to enjoy this one as well. The heat was on. It's from the ground. You were hunting out a redneck bail blind. Had to make some, it's spur of the moment alterations to the blind because of the fact that you were hunting with a videographer in that blind. And it's a great story, man. It's a good one that I think everybody's really going to enjoy. So,
well, it's a cool hunt, and it's pretty slick. The fact that you and I were hunting the same farm, literally in the same field, on that summer pattern. There was a sorghum patch that would, was a super hot food source, and so many whitetails were piling in off those mountains to come in and feed in that sorghum. And they were going to release cattle on that place, a week or two after we left. And we were trying to get there right in the nick of time and kill these big bucks that were on it. And it worked out pretty good, man.
It worked out. Yep, it is. I'll tell you, you speak to the mountainscape, but just the amount of deer too. I mean, scenery set aside, if you like to see whitetail deer and you're used to hunting a place where maybe you're only seeing 2 to 5 deer a sit, and that happens in a lot of parts of the country, and you're looking for a new opportunity where you can really get out and learn to, do things like age deer, or do things like learn a deer's body language. That's a hunting opportunity outside of offering the chance to the velvet buck that allows for you to really kind of learn the whitetail deer in a lot of different ways, because there's just so many of them. And even though it's 95 degrees, those deer are out on the food source for 4 hours in the afternoon in some cases, as long as it's not too hot or too windy of a day. But there's just a lot of face time with whitetails. You really get to see them in their uninterrupted environment, like you said, because it's early. They're unpressured. Yeah. They haven't had that hunting pressure placed on them or been over hunted. And, Ralph just has it dialed in, and man, we had a great time, and it was pretty neat to see you. I actually watched you arrow that deer from about 500 yards away across the field and saw it all go down. And it was just it was a cool experience, man. Really was.
It was, man. I enjoyed, being able to recover that buck together too, and have you there with me, and, reach out, shake my hand, give each other a hug, and hang out with our guide, Larry, and the camera guys, Christian and Adam. We were celebrating, man. It was an awesome day. I'm never going to forget it, and I hope we get to repeat it.
Yep, for sure. A pre-birthday buck this year, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Last year it was a birthday buck. This year it was a pre-birthday. Tough times, huh, Blake?
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to getting those guys out there too, and hunting for the show. Both Sam and Blake. I know Sam's got a great hunt lined up with Hornady in Kansas in September, which will be an early season muzzleloader hunt that lucky dog managed to draw a tag for this year, because somebody didn't draw their Kansas tag for the first time in 5 years. So I can already see it. That day is going to come, and I'd say probably the first evening I'm gonna be getting, blood trail text pictures as he follows up on a great big old buck, I hope. But
I tell you, man, I hate to jinx him, and we better knock wood, but from what I know about old Sam, sometimes he'll pull that horseshoe out, man. He tends to be a pretty lucky guy.
For sure.
I'm not gonna waste any time. Something like that 8-pointer steps out, the cameraman's going to have to tell me to slow down.
For sure. Well, let's kind of just quickly brush through the rest of the segments, because we had some great segments, and you guys are going to see, our audience are going to see this year that we've kind of changed up our format a little bit, where we're trying to pull our segments more into the show and align it with the message that we're telling throughout the show. And so, in the past, it's kind of been first half of the show is hunt, second half is education, and we split it up in that way. But this year, what we're doing is trying to bring the educational moments into the hunt story as we go through. And, we've got On Target in this episode, we've got Dr. Deer, and then we have the good old big buck profile. And I want to first touch on the big buck profile, even though it's the last segment that we bring in. We've been lucky enough that we've been offered the opportunity this year to film the big buck profiles in a very special location. And that is at the Bass Pro Shops Wonders of Wildlife Museum in Springfield, Missouri. They have got the Bucks and Bulls Hall as part of that major display. And display itself, that whole museum is amazing. And I'm a Missouri resident. I don't live that far from the place, about 3.5 hours, but I have not been there until we filmed. I had not been there since they reopened this museum, and it's just amazing. Not only is the Bucks and Bulls Hall, which we're going to give you a first class look at through the big buck profile, amazing, but the whole museum is amazing. It tells the story of our hunting heritage. It tells the story of all the animals that are pursued by the hunting population. You have the aquarium that is there for your children to go see. It's just this great big family oriented environment. And then, when you get done in the museum, you can walk right next door and go spend your week's paycheck on, a new Browning X-Bolt or a new diamond bow, or go down the list of things, a new fishing rod, whatever it might be. It's just a really cool place, and we'd encourage it as a destination.
Oh yeah. I tell you, I feel like I could have spent an entire week at the Wonders of Wildlife Museum. There were so many unique exhibits there that really left me speechless, and that's pretty hard to do. But I tell you, like the Firearms Museum, you know, literally looking at relics from the Lewis and Clark Museum and seeing those elements of American history, as well as some of the firearms from President Theodore Roosevelt and the Rough Riders, and to go from there and walk straight through the Firearms Museum into the Archery Museum and see the bow of Geronimo. Yeah. And the evolution of archery, you know, basically from the self bow, longbow days to now modern compounds, and as well as some of the incredible arrow technology. And, you know, it's a testament to who we are as hunters and conservationists and what we believe in and the lifestyle that we live. And I felt that from the moment I walked in the door at the Wonders of Wildlife Museum. That was a place built by hunters for hunters. And the video tour that we took before walking through the museum, you know, it made the hair on your arm stand up. And it's the kind of place that if you do what we do, you need to go there and you need to spend some time and check it all out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And our host, Laura, when we were there, had told us, she was honest. Hey, did you guys watch the video? You got to go watch the video, because it's really going to set the tone for what Mr. Morris has planned for this museum, you know. And when we got the chance to go watch it, she was 100% right. It just really set the tone for what you're about to see. And, you know, you called out the Bow Hunting Hall of Fame. I you know, just recently, the Pope and Young made an announcement that they're moving their facilities down to the same museum as well. So we're really looking forward to that. And Laura had alluded to some big things coming or being announced in the near future. And I'm guessing that is one of them. We haven't since talked to her, but there's just going to be so much there. And, you know, as a boy growing up in the Midwest, that Springfield Bass Pro Shops was a destination, you know, and that was before we had the boom and, you know, all the new locations of Bass Pro and Cabela's, for that matter, that came really in the late 90s and the early 2000s. You know, I can remember, I told Haynes when we were there, I remember specifically going down to a fall hunting classic, and I was in the aisle of all the turkey calls, and I was checking them out, and I taught myself how to blow a diaphragm call with some assistance from my grandfather as a boy. And I was trying to pick out what call I was going to use. And, you know, of course I grew up watching primetime bucks. So I knew who Alex Rutledge was. I knew who Stan Potts was. I mean, go down the list. I knew who those guys were. And I'm standing there looking at the calls, and I pick one up, and I'm looking at an HS call. And all of a sudden, this gentleman over to the right says, "Oh, you looking at a turkey call?" And I turned, and I couldn't tell you verbatim what was said, but it was Alex Rutledge, another Missouri native, you know. And he took the time to teach me how to blow that diaphragm. He literally pulled that call out of the package and said, "Don't worry about it. You take that home with you. This one's on me." And taught me right there in the aisle of that Bass Pro Shops how to properly blow in a diaphragm call. And so, you know, I've got a lot of I guess you could say, memories that come along with that location. And, you know, with the boom of all these new stores, I'd kind of forgotten about it. And then you go in there and you see what they're trying to rebuild at this location, the destination that they're really trying to make for everybody. And you just appreciate it that much more. It's really neat. So, well, I probably overtalked that, but let's get back to why we started talking about that. And that was the fact that we recorded all of our show opens in the Bucks and Bulls Hall, and we recorded the big buck profiles. And if you are looking for something to do this summer, or if you're looking for something to do in December or whenever, if you're a whitetail hunter and you want to get motivated to go hunt whitetail more or with greater frequency or intensity, you need to go to that Bucks and Bulls Hall, and you're going to see why on this year's big buck profile. And you'll see just with the very first profile, which is the Petrie buck out of Montana, a beautiful typical buck, unbelievable typical buck with just some unique characteristics in his main beams. And Haynes, I know it was a privilege for you to be able to hop in next to these deer and profile them in the way that you did.
Oh, it was really life-changing, man. Honestly, after having read so much about these historic whitetails and talking with them about them with Gordon Whittington, our editor emeritus, for years, you know, to finally have the opportunity to walk in that room and identify immediately 20 or 30 deer that Gordon and I talked about all the time, to see them in person and to realize that they really are, you know, like this. They're big. They look bigger than you. They are. And it's incredible just to be a part of it, and your jaw hits the floor, and just try not to trip on it while you're walking through there. But this first episode, you mentioned the Kent Petrie buck. I mean, to see him in real life was the exact same experience. He's a near 200 net 5x5. There's only a few of those in the world, period. And he does have the coolest main beams you'll ever find. You know, they sweep up and curl back to the sky, almost like a tine would. They have such a great character to them. And, an epic hunting story from back in the 60s. And it was awesome, man. I can't wait to go back and do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can't wait for everybody to see it. Blake and Sam, I know you guys have both seen previews of this and watched the episode. And I mean, what are your thoughts? Seeing that, being whitetail hunters, what do you guys think?
I've always been fascinated by the mount displays and buck displays in those stores. But yeah, to see a deer like that and in a museum like that, it's something I've never experienced. And I really want to get down there and look at it sometime.
For sure. For sure.
From watching the clips of you and Haynes going over the different profiles, I was just amazed at how many monster bucks they could fit in one room. Just like, you've been in someone's house and over their fireplace, it's, golly, man, that's a good looking deer. But to see countless giant bucks, I mean, it's just unreal. The amount of antler in one room, yep. I don't think it could be matched anywhere else.
No, it is. It's unmatched. And what's even neater about that spot is that so many of those, if not all of them, Haynes, you'll have to tell me on this one, but I believe they're originals, which is the really neat aspect of what's going on within that hallway, because that was the set of antlers in almost every one of those displays. And that's something that, it's pretty easy to, well, not real easy, but it's not hard to go and have a replica made in some cases, or to buy a replica, but to know that was the original piece of antler that was picked up the first time that hunter that was lucky enough to take whichever deer it was, all of them, that's the deer they walked up to. Those are the antlers that they picked up out of that Iowa cornfield or that mountainside in Montana, and it's just, you think back to like you said earlier, Haynes, our heritage and what goes into it. And to hear some of those stories, deer that were taken in remote Minnesota while a father's children were overseas fighting in a world war. It's just, man, it puts so much into perspective. It's pretty cool.
It does. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. So, well, you probably don't need to hear any more from myself or Haynes to understand that you need to go to the Wonders of Wildlife Museum in Springfield when you get the chance. Take your sons, daughters, wife, take the whole family and all your buddies. Go see it. Take the time to do it. Make it a destination at some point for yourself as a whitetail hunter. Well, let's bounce quickly to On Target. This week, you talked to us about, your archery setups and being prepared to bow hunt in the wind. And when people watch the footage, they're going to understand why you talked about that subject.
Yeah, I think you can see it somewhat in the footage. Sometimes it's really hard to pick up on, when with a video camera compared to reality, it's beating you to death. And then you watch the footage and you're like, well, gosh, it doesn't look that windy, but really it was 40 miles an hour gust, and that's just kind of typical for that part of the world. I think in the West, you do have some radical temperature changes that can happen, as well as some really big wind gusts that can kind of come out of nowhere. And, we'd been sitting out there for a couple of days and it was in the high 90s, and really hot and still and stagnant. And then all of a sudden that afternoon, man, this windstorm came out and we had gusts over 40 mile an hour, which is pretty tough conditions to shoot a bow in, especially at longer ranges. And the whitetail that I ultimately killed, he came into about 42, 43 yards, which, some guys will tell you that's a chip shot, not me. I mean, I think a 40-yard shot with a bow and arrow is absolutely something that you better be prepared for if you're going to take it, because there's tons of stuff that can go wrong, and it's really just not it's not an easy thing to do. So that type of shot, I tend to make sure I'm prepared for it. I've practiced in similar conditions, and my bow is tuned in the way it needs to, and I have enough confidence in myself to determine whether or not it's time to go ahead and take the shot. And that's the subject of On Target this week. Basically we're kind of looking at bow setups, adding some weight to increase the weight of your bow to cut that wind so it's not blowing all over the place. We also talk a little bit about small diameter arrows, which have, great ability to cut through the wind, and they're less disrupted by the force of the wind coming up against the side of the arrow because they have less surface area and a smaller diameter. And then we just give some tips for practicing in the wind and kind of getting your mental game strong enough as well as your physical game to do it in real life.
For sure. Yeah. It's a reality when you're out there. And the night that you actually shot your deer, myself and my cameraman started in a lone wolf set that we hung to try to get closer to a buck that was feeding up out of a drainage off of this Black Hills area right there. And we sat in that stand for about 30 minutes before I turned around and saw my cameraman squeezing his camera between his legs and holding onto the tree like a cat with his two hands. And I said, hey man, if it's too much, you just let me know. And man, God bless him, because he was holding in there literally, and he was going to try to make it work, but it got a little silly. So to your point, and you see that out in those open environments. In that case, we're not really up in the mountains, we're in the foothills, but there's a lot of wind coming down those foothills at times. And, you're catching those fronts right as they're developing, coming over that mountainside or down the mountainside. And so those open environments out west, that's more of an issue than probably, here in the Midwest, or you get into Southern Ohio or some of those places where you're not going to face as much wind just because of the terrain.
Right.
So yeah, it's something that, it was a great piece. You did a great job with it. I can't wait for people to see it because it's a reality as you go west. And that's just the way it is. So our last segment in the show is Dr. Deer, good old Dr. James Kroll. Our leader in regards to deer biology and wildlife biology, everything we do with the Dr. Deer segment and the Build Your Own Deer Factory segment. And it's a great segment. It's about the predator suite that our deer face every single day of the year, and how you can help to try to manage some of that predator scene or suite. And, I'll tell you, it's fitting for me here in Missouri. We just announced our first bear season. We're in Missouri. Most people would be like, the only predators you got to worry about are coyotes. But the reality is that we have the occasional mountain lion come in, and now we have bears, and we have a good population of them. And, people are facing more predators today than they ever have. And you and Doc addressed that.
Yep, absolutely. I think one of the more fascinating kind of elements of the discussion with Dr. Kroll there, and it's always so great to get his take, having a full career as a biologist and having had the opportunity to study these things and acquire actual data in the field. He explains in the segment that much of the research that has been done, whether it's by state agencies, DNRs, or independent research, a lot of times it looks at the mortality rates or the predation rates of each predator individually. And so, for instance, the coyote, which is, one of the most well-known, if not the most well-known deer predator, and it's all over the place, all over the continent, and they do damage everywhere they are. There's been a lot of coyote research studies on predation, and they can tell you, if in the Southeast, if a coyote is killing 20% or 30% of the deer herd annually. But what Doc explains in this segment is, hey, if you happen to live in a part of the country where not only you have coyotes, but also bears and mountain lions and bobcats, even if something like a bobcat's only killing 2 or 3% of the whitetail population, if you add it into a bear population that's killing 10% and a wolf population that's killing another 20%, it's additive, not compensatory, I believe is how Dr. Kroll explained it. And it really does make sense. And it shows you that in certain parts of the country where there are a lot of stuff that eat whitetails, you're going to have a lot less whitetails.
Right. Exactly. And another interesting fact, and I think he actually addressed that there. We have an extended version of this that's going to hit digital, which is something that I would encourage everybody to watch for. But he also mentioned the fact that a lot of times, with certain kinds of predators, they have a certain preference, and the mountain lion being point in case, where they tend to target male deer. Why? Because the buck usually lives in solitary, lives by himself is what I'm trying to say. He is by himself. So that cat can sneak in on that animal without extra sets of eyeballs. It's a little easier for him to pinpoint his target, and they tend to stand their ground. They don't run like a female doe does. They tend to want to let the testosterone kick in a little bit. So they'll target those deer that you and I are probably pursuing on a more day-to-day basis in a lot of cases. And, that was a great fact that I pulled from it. The other thing that he said, which I think we all, Blake and Sam, you're going to tell me the same thing. I know we all hunt predators, coyotes mainly, in our own home hunting areas. Doc made sure to communicate that, hey, it's great that you're out there trying to do your part, but do understand that if you're out there hunting coyotes recreationally, it's not enough in most cases. What you're going to do is knock out one or two and they'll replace themselves, as dogs do within, pack style. But what you really need is for somebody to come in and, maybe not necessarily commercially, but trap with the intent of really reducing the population to a manageable state. So that's something that, it's always great. And you hear people say, hey, I'm out doing my job. I'm trying to, work on the coyote population. Well, one or two's not really working on it. It's great that you're doing it. And we're not trying to deter you from it, but do understand it really takes more. And I think we didn't cover that in this episode, but it will be in the extended digital edition of that. So another great fact. And, Doc's full of facts. There's no doubt about that. We get that every time. And we always learn. So, well, folks, that's going to be episode 1. And I think it's called Dreaming of Velvet. There's no think to it. It's called Dreaming of Velvet Part 1. There on the Sportsman's Channel. I told you we'd tell you where you could find the episode. Sportsman's Channel Canada, Outdoor Channel. We've been lucky enough that the Outdoor Channel has picked up 4 airings. They're not peak or prime airings, but they are airing the show 4 times a week through Q3. Then we have some other opportunities for you that we would like to discuss with you that are new to us this year. One is an AVOD platform that is being distributed through Samsung Plus, Roku, Zumo, Vizio, and a couple of others that I don't remember right off the top of my brain. But basically, if you're buying a brand new Samsung or Vizio smart TV, there is a channel called the Fast Channel as part of that smart TV delivery. The Outdoor Channel and Sportsman's Channel are both being distributed, or select programs from the Outdoor Channel and Sportsman's Channel are being delivered through that Fast Channel. And North American Whitetail is one of those select programs. So you can catch us there. The other kind of neat on-demand service is a service called Friendly TV. It's $5.99 a month. You can hop in, you can stream it. It is the Outdoor Channel and Sportsman's Channel being streamed just like if you were watching us on Sling TV, which is Dish Network's streaming service. So $5.99 a month, you get the Outdoor Channel, Sportsman's Channel, World Fishing Network, and I think 10 or 12 other programs through that service. But it's a great, affordable way to consume television, and that's live television as well. So I guess the last way that you can consume our program is through My Outdoor TV. And I will tell you that that's 6 months delayed. So you won't see our new episode for about another 6 months, around December, January timeframe, before you'd be able to catch up on the episodes that we're talking about now. So those are all the great ways. We got plenty of airings on every single one of those channels still. Make sure you go and grab them. If you don't grab them, we will have re-airs in Q4 that you can go back and watch the season with as well. So Haynes, the last thing I want to talk about in regards to TV show is our sponsors. New season, season 18. And I'll tell you, we've got a lot of growing momentum here at North American Whitetail TV. And you can see that in some of the folks that have stepped up and are helping bring our show to the audience. And I'm going to first mention somebody that we partnered with last year, and that's our presenting sponsor, Wild Tree Wildlife Nurseries, a great organization out of Texas. We've had Jonathan Judice, the president from Wild Tree, join us here on Behind the Hunt earlier in the year. We're going to have him back, especially as we start to look at the planting season on the back end of the summer, help teach us, the proper ways and the type of species that we can help get out into the soil and invest in the long-term future of land management on our properties that we're hunting. But great sponsor. Glad to have him on. Some new sponsors. We have Ram trucks, brand new to us this year. You're going to see us riding around in brand new Rams. Man, the Uconnect screen, that Haynes couldn't get his fingers off of it. Every time he was driving down some interstate in some far off state trying to chase another whitetail, he was just pushing buttons all the time. That's all I could ever see was him pushing buttons. But, they've got all kinds of great features. If you guys haven't checked out Ram trucks, go do so today. They can definitely help you find your next big whitetail and get it home. Old Trapper Jerky. You can see the sign right here. I even got a couple snacks right here, just in case I get hungry during the podcast. Old Trapper's a new one for us this year. We're very, very excited. And, we're all guys that are out spending time trying to make a healthier us this day and age. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first one that will stop at the Little Debbie counter there within the gas station. And we all know that while it's really good going down, that it's going to be really hard as your energy starts to crash on the back end. So, you know, we're starting to actually implement snacks like jerky as we're out on those all day sits. So another great one, great fit, micro food plots. If you guys have not seen Micro Food Plot Implements, it's a new implement company out of Tennessee. Haynes, you have used it. Sam, you have used it. You guys just shot a brand new series for us on North American Whitetail's website. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about Micro Food Plots?
Absolutely. Yeah. Sam and I got together and shot a digital series. I'll let Sam explain it because he just finished it up. It turned out really great. We planted a plot together here in North Carolina.
Yeah, sure. We got together and got a food plot turned up and planted in just 2 days. We probably could have done it in 1 day if we weren't filming, but that little micro food plot is just like a tow behind attachment. We put it behind the Polaris UTV. But once Haynes and I finished with it in North Carolina, I trailered it home to my little place in Virginia and was actually able to pull it behind my little John Deere lawnmower. So it's a compact size, but man, that thing gets to work. An all-in-one, the Master Series that we used at least was all-in-one, disc, cultipacker, and cedar. And it worked great for us. So that 3-part series, like Layden said, it's on our website. You can go to the NorthAmericanWhitetail.com, find it there, or you can watch it on our YouTube page, North American Whitetail on YouTube.
Awesome. Yeah. Great piece. I mean, hey, look, one of the big things we've been focusing more so on, because we've listened to our audience again, and what you guys are telling us is, manageable products for manageable ground when it comes to land management. We'd all love to have a 90 horse tractor. We'd all love to have a great big old, 15, 16 foot disc to pull behind and a big planter. But the reality is that the majority of us that are watching this show, that are writing this magazine, that are reading this magazine, reading our content, we have somewhere between 40 and 60 acres. We have a UTV or an ATV, and we have a budget. Is the other aspect of it. And I'll tell you, the guys at Micro Food Plots are making a very affordable, very good product for folks to get out and manage their property with. So that's a great one. We're enjoying those guys. Go check them out. Micro Food Plots. Excalibur crossbows, part of the Bowtech family of products. We joined up with Bowtech last year. Excalibur's now come along, so we'll be shooting Excaliburs. You're going to see a lot of Excalibur action this year. Haynes, Stan, Doc, man, we got a lot of Excalibur action into this season. So excited to continue with those guys. Black Gold Premium Sights, another Bowtech family or Pure Archery Group family product. Great archery sights built. They're built like a tank. And, if you haven't seen their photochromatic fiber optic system, go check them out. They're making products for whitetail hunters specifically. It's just a great company, great people. Ripcord Arrow Rest, another one. We've got brand new products there that we're shooting this year. Tight Spot Quivers, the Rise Quiver, which is a whitetail tree stand minded quiver. And then we've got another new sponsor, Jackery Power Outdoors. And you guys are gonna be like, what are you talking about? These are power banks, electric generated or solar generated power banks that you can use in the field. We're gonna be doing some really cool stuff with these this year. You're gonna see that we used them with our Ozonics units in the field this last year. They just offer you power in the field where you wouldn't have had it otherwise. I'm actually gonna do a cool project here in July where I'm gonna go out and build a wooden platform for my Ghillie 360 Redneck Blind. And I'm going to take my electric saw, my electric drill, and we're going to do it all in the field right there in the food plot using one of their power banks. So awesome product. It's going to be great for you guys to see and get familiar with them. And then we have all of our incumbents, everybody that's coming back and continues to renew with us. Alps Outdoors, Base Map Technologies, Buck Forage, Bowtech, Browning Firearms, Browning Apparel, Browning Trail Cameras, Conquest Scents, Easton Archery, Mossy Oak, Hornady, Lone Wolf Stands, Ozonics, Redneck Blinds, Sever Broadheads, Sig Optics, and Strike Force Outdoors. And there's a lot of them. And I'll tell you,
I'm just going to tell you, that was pretty impressive. I don't know if you got a teleprompter, but I've never seen you use one before. For the fact that you got them all, I'm going to go ahead and give you my tip of the hat, man.
Well, I'll tell you why it's so easy to do. We work with these people all the time, and they're working hard with us to make sure that we're bringing the best programming to our audience out there, everybody watching Sportsman's Channel, Outdoor Channel. And, you know, when you get to do, when you get to work with good people, which every single one of these people are every single one of these companies has a good cast of people that believe in the whitetail segment and want to make good products for the whitetail hunter. It makes it a lot easier for us to remember their names. So, you know, we couldn't do it without them. Thanks. Go check out all their products. We're going to have all kinds of new YouTube videos where you're going to have product reviews coming from us. We're going to be trying to share more and more of their product suite with you guys. So we appreciate it. Hope that everybody can watch this week's episode at some point. Episode 2 is next week, and that's myself, and it's on the back end of Haynes killing his big buck there in Wyoming. I'm going to get to kill my first velvet buck, and we look forward to sharing more with you about that. But before we get there, we have got a major holiday coming in, and that is Independence Day. 4th of July here in the U.S. We're all proud to be Americans here at North American Whitetail. So thankful for the sacrifices that have been made on our behalves to be Americans. You know, as silly as it sounds, sometimes we wouldn't be deer hunting if it weren't for all those great people that put their lives ahead of ours. And we're going to celebrate that this weekend as a staff and as community members here in our own local communities. And I guess I'll just ask each one of you, Blake, what are your plans for the weekend? Anything whitetail related over the Independence Day holiday?
Yeah, actually, there's a property here in Pennsylvania. Probably not going to get to hunt it this year, but I'm going to go hang some trail cameras on it, let them soak, and then pick them up around Christmas time, and hopefully have the whole season's worth of knowledge on them for the future.
Nice. Very nice. Sam, what about you, man?
Well, I'm sitting down here at the beach, and if you see me put the mute on, that's because there's fighter jets ripping over my head. So I am awfully thankful and patriotic this 4th of July. But before I drove down here, I dropped some minerals in front of my Browning trail camera. Like I mentioned earlier, using that MFP to put a food plot in at home, trying a warm season blend for the first time. So hopefully after this long weekend, I'll have some critters mulling around my place when it's nice and quiet, and we'll see what's in the area.
Awesome. Awesome. Haynes, I shouldn't even ask. I know you've got big plans. What do you got going on this weekend?
Yeah, man. Well, I beat both of these guys. I've had my Browning trail cameras all set up. They're already out there soaking, man. I got the solar panels set up on them. They're in the food plots, probably getting pictures of some big old North Carolina bucks. So I'm going to head down to the beach, sit by the ocean this weekend, and let a little bit of the stress roll off. Mr. Garlock and I have been busting our tails, putting out some magazines lately, including the July issue, which is officially on newsstands now. It is out and about. So folks, if you see it this weekend and you're looking for something to pick up and take with you for Independence Day, if you're hanging out by the pool, a little bit of reading materials, we've got some awesome stories in here. Blake and I just finished the August issue, and we are about 2 weeks away from finishing up September. So I got you busy right off the bat, didn't I, Blake?
Absolutely. And look out for that August issue, because I'm excited about it because it's my first one with the publication, but there's some historic context to NAW in that, and there's maybe even some record book deer coming. So you definitely need to be on the lookout for that issue.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Well, two great issues. And I'd say the other thing, we'll talk more about this as we get closer to August with that August issue, but we've got a first time delivery there called Archery August. And it's a digital video delivery. We've worked with all our advertisers in that book, and we're going to be showing you kind of some of the latest and greatest from all 4 of us here in regards to digital video reviews, short, digestible videos about their new products, and a little motivation to go out and spend some money here in August and September before the deer season hits. So I guess, guys, I'm going to try to get quite a few things done here this week. We've got some family events going on. I'm not going to be at the beach or down at the lake or anything like that. We are going to hit the family farm pond on Saturday afternoon. But I've got some late bean plots to plant. We've had a lot of rain here in Missouri over the last 4 weeks. We had about 8 straight days of rain, and then it got dry for about 15 days. And now we've had another 4 or 5, 6 days almost of straight rain, and the sun's come out today. And that means that by Saturday, I'm hoping I'm planting some beans, try to get them in here So I've got that, and I actually have got just in the last couple evenings have got out to get some velvet footage, which has been great. I sent you guys some video here of a little bachelor group right by my house, and man, it's cool. I'll tell you, it's great to see those antlers already back on their head, 100+ inches of antler for some of these bigger deer already. And man, I don't know about you, but it gets me pumped up. And I need no motivation to go shoot my bow after a couple of those evenings. Man, I just can't tell you how excited I am for me and my little boys to get out and take some big old Missouri whitetail deer this fall.
Absolutely, man. That sounds like a blast. It's hard to beat getting out there and watching those velvet bucks in a bachelor group and enjoying this time of year. And, you know, if we can't hunt them yet, golly, thank goodness we can at least look at them and get excited about it. And it's just another reminder that it's coming quick. So don't blink. It's going to be deer season before we know it.
Well, with July 1st, we're only 60 days away, which probably sounds crazy to most folks, but it's reality. So yeah, it's right here around the corner. Well, Blake, Sam, we look forward to long, healthy careers with the two of you here at North American Whitetail. I know that you're both dedicated to the brand already, and you're looking forward to what this brand will deliver to the next generation of whitetail hunters, and you're looking forward to being a part of it. And we couldn't be more happy to have you as a part of it. Look forward to this audience getting to see more and more of each of you and your skill set and what you're able to do from a content generation aspect. So thank you guys. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to have you come on again next time or who knows when, probably multiple times here on Behind the Hunt. But folks, happy 4th of July from all of us here at North American Whitetail. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your family, your friends, your loved ones. Thanks to all of those that sacrifice and put their lives on the line for us to have this great country that we live in. We're so thankful for you. So proud of all of our whitetail hunting friends and buddies. Just go have a great weekend. All right, you guys, we'll catch you next time.